Hi, I'm Judith. I'm a Canadian and I'm 80 years old. And I'm trying something a little different today because I don't know how to edit and I want to show you something on a piece of paper. So I started this channel in order to share with you my wisdom of whatever wisdom I've accumulated, stuff I've learned in my life about how to create a happy and successful and fulfilling life, successful on your terms. And and as I got thinking about this, I've been talking about various different subjects in the over a dozen videos that I published thus far, and I wanted some way to put it all in context so you could kind of see where I'm going with it in various subjects in various areas, and so I ended up drawing it on a piece of paper, and I was hoping to just to develop the drawing showing you, but I can't figure out how to do that. So I'm going to show you the final drawing and just talk about it. Um, so here we go. I'm going to move the camera around and set this up and hope that this works. Yes, here we go. Now, these are the books that I use to prop my iPad up on when I'm looking at. Oh, sorry, looking at things. Let me get this set up properly. Okay, here we go. So this is the diagram. So if your life can be divided into categories and also into the state of those categories. So the states are negative and positive, positive at the top. And within negative, there are two sections, really. You can have disorder or you can have mess. So disorder, something isn't in the can be really easy. Something isn't in the cupboard or in the refrigerator, and it needs to be in the cupboard or the refrigerator. So it's out of order and it goes back into the cupboard or the refrigerator. But it can also be a mess. That is, it falls out of the cupboard, it breaks, the flour canister goes all over the floor, and you have a mess to clean up. You can have messes in all areas of your life, and some are way more complicated than that. Um, and way harder to deal with. But basically, disorder and messes definitely create some kind of unhappiness and complexity and troubles in your life. Disorder, some people can stand a certain amount of disorder and it doesn't bother them at all. But disorder for me, it doesn't, it causes me unhappiness. I mean, I don't get hugely unhappy when something is on the counter and it should be in the cupboard. But if I have enough of those things happening, yeah, it disturbs me. And in various other areas of my life, any amount of disorder really starts to create an unease, a dis-ease of sorts. On the positive side, I can have the two more categories, and one category of that is order, so the opposite of disorder, and that gets you above the kind of marking line from negative to positive, or I can have success. In some cases, just having order is enough. You don't need to have huge success as long as things are kind of in order. Um, in other cases, you might want to have success. Well, let me give you an example just from, let's take the category of finances. So if you are in a situation in which you're going bankrupt, or in which creditors are coming after you all the time, or in which you are going to jail because you defrauded someone or something like that, you've got a mess. And very clearly you have a mess. Sometimes it's a legal kind of mess because of finances, and sometimes it's just a bureaucratic kind of thing. You've got to pay all the parking tickets before you can get your license to drive your car again. Um, you can have disorder where things are not so badly off. You're just maybe, let's say, you're scrambling every month just to pay the bills, and you're paying one bill but not the other, and you're just sort of balancing. And any disaster, I've heard a statistic that in the United States, some huge number of percentage, I don't remember the percentage of people, are one paycheck away from financial disaster, or could not afford a $400 emergency. Um, so that's a level at which order, if it's there at all, may be very tenuous. In fact, you might call it disorder. If you're monthly expenses are always a little more than you're making, that's disorder. In a sense, in financial things, in a sense of order, would be that you make enough money to pay for everything that you need to. That is, you can live within your means. You may not have much left over, but you can manage to live within your means. That's a level of order. Although, because of things like the possibility of emergencies, it may not be enough. But let's say you have enough and you have a little bit of savings, just enough to ward off some kind of, minor disaster. But then success, maybe in finances, would be to have a cushion that's bigger than that, to have an emergency fund, to have savings. In fact, to have wealth ultimately would be the biggest amount of success in financial areas. Not saying that that's required to have a happy life. Um, you there are lots of people who have very happy lives who just get by. But I don't think that having always instability in your finances creates any kind of happiness at all. You may get some happiness despite it, but it doesn't create happiness. So then I have the areas in which which for me are the main areas of life. The first one I would say are values or character, things like honesty, uh, things like loyalty, things like steadiness, like reliability. Um, if you have those positive kinds of values and you live up to them, then your life will tend to be a lot happier and more stable than if you have the other disorderly ones. If you are unreliable, if you are if you lie, if you cheat, if you steal, if if you don't have kind of good moral values. Relationships proven to be the most, in a Harvard longitudinal study that was started in 1938, I think, and went until the people in it were they had been sophomores in college, and then it went until they were in their 90s. Relationships, the ability to have relationships, is one of the key factors for happiness in life. And also for career success in life, believe it or not, because how you get along with people usually determines your career success to a large extent. Health, I think health and well-being, taking care of your health is and dealing with it and becoming healthy, if it's possible to do so, is a really important factor for happiness. Um, I'm sure there are people who have ill health that do manage to find happiness. I'm not saying that one category necessarily makes you unhappy or ruins your life completely, but all these things help. Finances, we talked about, things, just stuff that you own, cars, houses, the things that are in houses, athletic equipment, whatever you own, whether it's in orderly repair or in disarray or broken, or whether you have really nice things and you can keep them nicely and they give you pleasure. Work and career, that could be slightly paid work, but it could be volunteer work. Um, Whatever you find to be of use in this world. I've got a category here. I've just got fun, leisure, creativity. Not that you can't be creative in other areas. Pastimes, that could be travel, adventure, um, other areas of your life. It's all the discretionary areas of your life. Um, and then legacy and contribution, I think, are often important especially as you get older. You think, what am I leaving? Am I leaving this world a better place? Maybe my contribution is that I raised really good kids and they're raising really good kids. A lot of people are proud of that contribution. Um, I've written a few books. They likely won't live on, but I'm hoping these videos are to some extent a contribution. But also, how do I contribute just on a regular basis by giving and charity work and so on. And finally, spiritual connection. Now, these may not be your categories, and you don't have to have all of these categories in your life. You could likely live a perfectly happy life and choose not to have any kind of spiritual condition at all, connection at all. That's fair. Um, as I said, you might have ill health and still be able to create a happy life. So not all of these have to be all in place and all high successes for you to have a good and happy and fulfilled life. But if more things are in the positive state and fewer things are in the negative state, and you know how to keep them that way, then I think that you're well on your way to creating a good and happy life. And all the things that I talk about in all of the videos are just ways to deal with the negative and move into the positive. So hopefully that gives you some kind of perspective, and you could draw a chart like this for yourself and just map where you are in each one of those and where you want to improve. And that may help you to do the first thing that I talked about in the very first video, which is setting some intentions. Or it might help you to set the touchstones, which I talked about in the second video. Anyway, you can go back and look at those. Please like and subscribe if you find this valuable, and take care. Try and do your best to enjoy life and to make it a happy one, and I'll see you on the next one.